Jason, Adam, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To have you. Nice to have you. Now, how long have you guys known each other?
Going on 24 years now.
And how many of those years have you been partners?
20. Well, we've been partners since 2007. We've been in business for 20 years.
20 years, man. That's most people don't do partnerships. It seems like it's worked for you guys.
Yeah.
What have you guys found that's really worked?
I would say the biggest thing for us is defining roles. When things would not work out well is because we didn't have defined roles. And the better we got at defining our roles, that's what really made it work well for us.
Yeah. Now, I'll circle back because I know I just jumped right in on partnership stuff because you talked about it. But tell me a little bit about yourselves, how you got into auto repair. Tell me about your shops.
Well, we met in technical college for auto repair. That's where we actually met. I got into auto repair by chance. So I had another friend that was going to school for that, and I was going for another program. Didn't see a huge future in that for myself. And he convinced me, hey, you enjoy fixing cars. You grew up on a small farm, like you'd probably be good at it. So hopped into this industry, and that's how I got started.
Nice. What about you?
For me, it was high school was coming to an end, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. So I just figured, got to do something, get trained in something. I figured if I learn how to fix cars, it's never a bad thing to know, even if I decide I don't want to do it forever.
Yeah.
And then that's where I met Adam in tech school. So we went to school for automotive, both of us. And that's kind of where our friendship started.
Nice. What did you guys do right out of tech school?
A year out of tech school is when I bought the first store.
So a year out of tech school, you bought a store.
Yep.
You didn't just go work for one. You just went and bought one.
I was working for the store and I bought it from the owner. So
did you know you always want to own one, or did you have any inclination you were going to go that route?
No, that wasn't the idea at first. The store we were working for worked on everything that I worked for, worked on everything. So, I mean, from automotive, semis, boats, RVs, four-wheelers.
Those aren't the same thing.
No, they're not the same thing. It was
kind of.
I've already heard how horrible boats are to work on.
It was just a giant mess of, what we're going to do that day. It wasn't very efficient.
Yeah.
We didn't have good information on any of the stuff we were working on. We had the best information on cars because we did have some repair manuals for that.
Yeah.
The internet really wasn't available, so we had a lot of paper manuals.
Yeah.
And so if you had to figure out something on a boat, it was by trial and error and a DVOM and just writing everything down and just trying to compare one thing to the next.
Yeah. That's tough to learn from mistakes on engines like that. You don't know. Probably not have parts really sourced very close either for some of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was just very interesting. I mean, it taught me a lot about several different, systems and what I didn't want to do. So it didn't take very long to decide that it wasn't a great idea to fix everything. We needed to get more specialized. So we just turned everything off and just did the auto repair and focus on that.
Yeah. Was that while you were working there you did that, or was that after you bought this?
After we bought it.
After you bought it. So how long while you were working there did it take before did he approach you about it, or what was the deal there?
I had actually heard through one of the other employees that it was for sale and that it was way too expensive. Nobody should ever pay what he was asking. $200,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it doing?
I was doing about $500,000 a year.
Okay.
Yeah. $600,000 right between there.
Probably debt was through the roof. Or
he didn't have much debt on it by the sounds of it when I was negotiating with him.
Yeah.
What I found out after the fact, when we did finalize the deal, is that he did have some debt on it, and what I was paying him paid off the debt.
Needed something to walk out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I bought the business first, and then a year later, I ended up buying the property.
Okay.
From the same person.
Yeah.
Which worked out in our favor in the long term. So I probably overpaid for the value of the business at the time that I bought it.
Yeah.
But it did get me in the industry. He did owner finance part of the debt for the business, which helped me get started. I was able to use my parents' house equity, not like any of their cash or anything, because I didn't have a lot, but they did have some equity in their home that I took a loan out against. And
at least that started.
That's how I got started was their equity.
Now, were you there with him doing all of this, or where did you come in?
So I started working for Adam. I mean, essentially the old owner, maybe a month or two before you physically bought it, but obviously recruited by Adam. And so I pretty much was working with him right away.
Yeah. So it took me about 6 months of negotiation. So about 6 months after I started working at that location, so I was still in school when I started there. That's when I heard about that it was for sale. It took about 6 months to negotiate the deal out. And then it was May 1st, 04 when we closed on it. That was my first day of business.
Okay. All right.
So then Jason, before I bought it, I wanted somebody in there that I could trust. And we knew each other from school. And it's like we spent a lot of time together. We could stand being in each other's space. So thought it was a good fit.
Yeah.
So Jason came to work for the previous owner for about a month or two before we actually closed on it. And then after we closed, two of the people that were working there quit essentially right away. They didn't want to work for a 22-year-old kid that just showed up one day there.
Yeah, sure.
And then a couple of them did stay. We had one that stuck it out for a while, and the other one moved to another state because I think he didn't want to be there either.
So how many employees was it?
When I purchased it, there was 4 employees.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
When you first picked up that shop, did you have an idea of the stuff you needed to fix, or were you kind of blind? You just kind of started doing stuff. Like obviously you need to quit working on all that stuff, but
yeah. So it took about a year to really like get an idea of what we really wanted to do. And it was about a year later that I sought out some training. So I actually, the real big training group back then that was seemed like it was big or whatever was Management Success out of California.
Mm-hmm.
And they were advertising the shops at that time. You know, they'd send you a postcard or call you or whatever. And so I did sign up for that training a year after. So in 2005, I flew out to California for some training. First time I've ever been on a plane. Never had done any travel before that. By
California
air.
too.
Went to California, had a layover in Vegas. So learned about airports and all that stuff. It was fun. Got out there, and I believe it was the second time I was out there, I met Aaron.
Okay.
So that's how our friendship started too. So met Aaron at the same training event. But we came back from that with some decent knowledge, at least, and some GP numbers that we were going to try to hit, and, kind of like how to like price our labor rate a little better. So they had some basic information that I had no idea about prior to that. And our labor rate was really inexpensive back then. I think it was like $60 an hour or something. And parts margins were really low. You were just trying to go off the list price on the invoice that the parts dealer was telling you it was supposed to be.
But you thought your pricing was fair.
Yeah. We had no benchmark.
Yeah.
The benchmark was what was there before. And even like the hours that the store was open, it was open 7 days a week when we bought it. So we just kept everything the same. I think it was 147 days we made it 7 days a week. And then it was, this is not going to work. So then we were like, Sundays were closed.
Yeah.
So we'll do Saturdays, but then we took our Saturdays with a half day also, but then we took a Saturday and made it like a 3/4 day to like make up for the time that we weren't going to be there on Sunday. Which was just another bad idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't know they're bad until you try.
Well, you have to you have to find the way not to do it.
That's
before
right.
you find the way.
That's right.
And we did it
know.
in every facet.
Yeah.
You could save somebody else that pain.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, we ended up, actually going to 5 days a week. I mean, partnerships, like, I guess we've been asked about partnerships so many times and like how our relationship worked.
Yeah.
It's something that I would like to share with everybody, that I don't recommend partnerships for anybody. I don't.
Jason's that bad.
I'm that bad.
Oh, okay.
Well, we could tell you some stories.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what we're here for, guys. This is story time right now.
The person that you're partnered up with, like it's a marriage essentially.
Yeah.
Like you are very.
Well, I was going to ask how long have y'all been married to your wives? Because you guys have been married
Not
for 20
nearly
years.
as long as we've been married.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say
8 years.
y'all been
My
married
wife.
longer than you have your wives.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of people that just don't have the tolerance for it. They don't have the empathy for the other person. They don't realize that you can have an argument and then still be friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are some people that are uncomfortable around us when we have an argument because we're in each other's face. Like it's never been physical yet.
Well, and we were joking about it yesterday at lunch with TJ.
Yeah.
And the one time he was talking about how uncomfortable we made him when we were kind of arguing about some shop thing and whatever. And that's just how it's always been. Like we're ready to come to blows essentially. And then all of a sudden it's like we find some common ground and then it's like, okay, all right, well, what are we doing this week? Are we going riding? Just like, we're just like best friends again.
That's good. That's definitely good. It's a bit like a brotherhood.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're connected by blood. You can't get away from that.
Yep.
So,
And we spent so much time together, personally and professionally. We have a lot of the same activities and friend
families
groups.
are the same ages and
Yeah. So very similar life paths. I think a lot of people don't even, talk about what they want out of their business when they get into a partnership, like how that's going to play out. Like, are we going to sell this someday? Are we not going to sell it? I mean, are we all going to work in it? What roles are you going to do?
Yeah.
What roles am I going to do?
Yeah.
That's been a big part of it. Jason mentioned it right away, that the roles are so important to define. And you can't get jealous that if you guys split up the roles and somebody's faster at getting their stuff done than you are, they get to take off time sooner than you do. Like, they got their stuff done. Like, time doesn't matter. It's only results. So if you hammer your stuff out, like, you're golden. A lot of times you can help the other person.
Probably one of the biggest things that I hear in other partnerships is it's like, well, it's not fair this, it's not fair that. It's like, well, that's why you have to talk about it. And yeah, it's results. If one person's done with their job before the other one, okay.
Yeah.
But I think there's some maturity there too that you guys have, because a lot of times, like if you're in a scenario where the quality of the relationship also means there can't be assumptions about, oh, well, he's partnering with me. If I'm in this situation, I expect them to do it, but you don't ask them to do anything and they kind of doing their own thing. You start to begrudge. And there's a maturity there going, actually, to the point, he did what he needed to do. He actually did his stuff. I'm still working on my stuff. I shouldn't expect of that. I mean, that's a maturity thing.
And a lot of communication. Like, you got to be willing to have the hard conversations and hurt somebody's feelings when.
Sounds like you guys don't have any problem hurting each other's feelings.
No.
I don't think we really ever did.
It's honestly made things easier.
Yeah.
Because you can just get it out and have it out. And then by the time you're all done arguing about it, like,
you can go snowmobiling.
Yeah.
And now, a quick word from our sponsors. There's that moment after every job where you hand the customer the keys and they extend their hand for that handshake for a job well done. There's just nothing better than that. But those interactions don't happen if you don't reach out first. Upswell specializes in outreach for repair shops. At Upswell, you get a dedicated marketing consultant skilled in auto repair strategies to help you identify your ideal customer and create a campaign that hits the mark with perfect targeting, eye-catching design, and a compelling message to fuel your growth and get you more of those handshakes. Upswell handles it all. They even offer a free marketing assessment and 10% off your first campaign for all new customers. Get more customer handshakes, get more customers in the door, and get yourself an upswell of new business. Visit them online at upswellmarketing.com. Again, that's upswellmarketing.com. And now back to the episode. We used to always joke about that whenever you're dating, and it's like, did you have your DTR yet? You're defining the relationship. But in reality, the DTR is where you talk about the stuff. And okay, what are we doing? Is this really going to work? And that's where you figure out what is the thing, how you're going to work together, talk about the goals and all that. And you have to, I think, in a partnership. And I think that's also where you find out that, hey, I know you said don't do partnerships, but you also find out whether or not the person's a good person for you to work with based upon both people's abilities, just to work with each other. So sounds like you guys had those hard conversations and it worked.
They came up out of necessity. Like, we didn't know to have those conversations until we actually had them. So that was a friction point several times where we were really angry at each other for a week or something sometimes, where we were just trying to figure out like how to make enough money so that we could take some money home and pay our mortgage.
Yeah.
And still like tolerate to be in the same building at the same time. So, I mean, there were several times where, we just didn't know what to do with each other, and we just kept working because we didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
We'd already signed up for this. We shook hands and we were in it.
You got married.
It's our life.
You got married.
Yeah.
you have a lot invested.
Yeah. There was no giving up. Like, it didn't matter how bad things got. And there were some years that were not fun at all, unprofitable, cash negative, just everything that was going wrong, employee issues.
Well, and Aaron talks a lot about how as people grow, some people's second shop, third shop, fourth shop, whatever it is like their hardest. Well, ours was definitely our second, just because we thought we had more figured out than we really did. And then especially when we split up,
yeah,
it was really tough.
What'd you figure out that you did not have figured out?
We did not have a strong enough standalone store one first, because we essentially both went to the second store to run it, open it, and left store one alone. Well, they were definitely not ready to stand on their own. And we figured that out very quickly.
Is that because just like training, they weren't ready? They didn't know how to run on their own?
Just poor management, just not the right people.
Immaturity.
Yeah. So really what saved that was we just split up then. You know, one of us took one store, the other one took the other, and then that really started to make it work.
Yeah. Because then we had somebody that cared in both locations 100%. And we started pushing. And it was almost like a competition then, too. So we'd call each other at the end of the day and be like, what'd you do? And you were just trying to see who got the biggest.
Who was leading? I want to know who led.
It went back and forth.
I went back to the original store, so I had a big head start.
All right,
he was still trying to build customer base.
Percentage increase.
Yeah. It really was. Yeah, we were just trying to get gains out of the second.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The first one, we were just trying to get back on its feet where it was.
Yeah.
Jason was able to accomplish that, and then we were able to get, some pretty good growth out of store 2 at that point. We took one of the technicians out of store 1, and I grabbed him, and then Jason went back to store 1, and we ended up hiring a few more people. My wife Jenna actually helped us open the second location.
Oh.
I was engaged to her at the time that we opened that location. It was really hard on our relationship.
So I'll say you were engaged.
Engaged.
So she hadn't fully committed, and you were having to open a store.
Yep, and I'm super hard to work with. Jason can attest to that. Like, I made my wife cry several times because it was, are we doing a good job for the customer or aren't we? And if you're not doing a good job, like,
I'm going to let you know.
Yeah. So it was very blunt. I'll leave it at that.
I was waiting for an open apology to your wife on this podcast.
Oh, I've apologized several times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I won't make you go there.
Well, this was 2015.
Yeah.
So it was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So some time has passed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Feelings have healed.
Good. So how many stores do you have now?
We have 8.
8 stores.
Yep.
Which store at what point does opening those stores become much easier or something replicable?
I don't know if we have it dialed in yet.
Okay.
So we've done the acquisitions.
You need to get 16.
Probably. We've done acquisitions. We've done startups. I would say the easiest ones are some acquisitions that were run at least at a 60, 70% decent model. Those were the ones that were reasonable to switch over. The dysfunctional acquisitions were really difficult.
Well, yeah, the worst ones are where it's been shut down, 0 staff, you're essentially starting over. Yeah. I mean, if you got a functioning business, there's people there, there's customers coming in, you can always build off of that. The toughest are the shutdown. I mean, they take a while.
Yeah. Just getting staff in there too is interesting. And buildings carry a legacy with them.
Uh-huh.
So if something happened in that building, it didn't matter that it wasn't you. Like, customers will still hold it against you for a while.
Oh, I'm sure.
So they'll come in with warranty stuff that was from the previous owner. They'll come in there and say, this guy, talk bad.
You guys did this 6 months ago and it's leaking. Okay, we'll take care of it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like 8 stores. So how many employees then total?
Right under 70 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of infrastructure or processes or systems you guys have to put in place to get there?
Manuals. So we do have operation manuals and employee handbooks. Did a really good corporate office with a couple really amazing staff members there.
When did you put that in place during your stores?
It's happened over the last 4 years. Really, that's come together.
Okay.
So that was we already had store 7 at that time, but we had an original bookkeeper that we'd had for 17 years. 16, 17 years. And she was great until she wasn't. So she just had some other stuff come up in her life, some changes. And we should have probably done a better job of staffing our corporate office before that happened, because it was really reliant on her. And we were lucky enough to find a great controller that had 30 years experience at another business. We're a second career. So really cool to get somebody that's that stable to come in. Took them a while to learn our processes, our industry a little bit, because he came from another industry. And we were able to hire a great bookkeeper that had HR experience, and she's really taken over a lot of the HR stuff, management, payroll, in-house, and we still do all that in-house. But building that out really helped stabilize a lot of the store activity. So it made the managers even more accountable, because they would see all the daily entries, anything that was scanned in, our digital filing system. And when there's a problem, they were getting hold of them the next morning instead of us finding it a week later.
Yeah.
And then you can't figure it out because nobody remembers.
Yeah. You can't pivot fast enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That problem becomes 60 days old before you find out about it.
And then try to find the problem.
Yeah.
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 That was probably our biggest thing to get organized, and getting that off-site too in another building. So the stores weren't so close there.
Yeah, because we were officing out of our second location because we had a office there.
Yeah.
It ended up being 4 of us working in an office that was
A single office.
10 by 14. So
But that was a lively office.
when somebody was on the phone, everybody heard everything.
Yeah, of course you did.
So a lot of walking around the parking lot on conversations on your cell phone. We ended up buying a warehouse that had office space, and that helped out a ton. We were able to move all our corporate stuff in there, all the extra equipment, just gave us some room to breathe.
Yeah. What's been one of the hardest but best lessons you've learned throughout all this?
Give the people you trust grace. Like, just back off. Like, you got to trust the people that have been there with you the longest. So when something happens,
give me an example. Where's that played out for you?
when people everyone's gonna make mistakes. I make mistakes. Like, we're gonna trip up and cost each other money. We're gonna, cost each other heartaches and headaches. And it's not because you did it on purpose. You're just gonna be like, what are we gonna do to fix this? Like, you just got to give up on the fight and just be like, it's water under the bridge. What are we gonna do tomorrow?
And people generally know when they screw up too. Obviously, you have to talk about it and figure out what went wrong, what we're not going to do next time. But giving them some grace to make mistakes and learn from them. We never used to do that. That was a big thing for us, was micromanaging, just being kind of involved with everything. You got to give people space to grow.
Yeah.
And that was a big mover.
Do you guys have anything like culture wise that you focus on when you bring people in? Is there anything that you make sure you're trying to hammer down?
I don't know if we have anything specific that we really has become like our signature move. We're really trying to fill in every little gap, I guess, as we can. I mean, now we do the welcome packet that has a little swag bag. They get a cooler and some stuff, flashlight with our emblem on it, and just something to say thank you for starting.
Other than that, really, we've been trying to blow our Christmas parties kind of bigger and bigger every year.
Yeah.
We just had our 20th year celebration, a month ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool, getting all the families together. And that's humbling, because you see, it's one thing to work with one person, but then you see their significant other, their kids. It's everything's real then.
That's a lot of people. I mean, that's a lot of people working for you. There's a lot of family behind that. A lot of spouses and families supporting what they're doing and working with you guys. 20 years.
We had about 150 people show up for that event.
Wow.
So just rented out part of a resort and had some meals catered in. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me one of your best memories of this journey. Yes, you each have to have one. You only told me one of the first one. You didn't say one, but
best
you
memory.
tell me one. Yeah. Was it when you first guys got together? What was the best memory?
Boy, I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of bad memories. I guess I don't have one that stands out, but it really is cool how the problems kind of keep changing, but the problems, I guess, they're easier to overcome, even though they're larger. You just growing as a person and just seeing more and more things. We just don't get too worried about the little stuff anymore. I remember one little car used to go sideways and it was just oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And then now it's we wreck something on a customer's car and it's okay, we have a process in place. It just gets handled. It's just all right, let's just move on.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Just the more we get things dialed in, just able to have a larger company and not being so reliant on every single little car, and
being able to take care of customers properly because we can.
Yeah.
When you're profitable and something goes wrong, it's pretty easy to either give them a refund or fix the problem because you can write a check for it. When you're broke, it's not an option. So becoming profitable is big plus.
Yeah. Big plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another big one too, you say the biggest, I guess, and this is maybe for me, at our Christmas party last year. So we're coming up on our 20th year, and everybody, all the employees pitched in, and they got us this big metal sign to hang in our corporate office, Motorworks established, 2004. And it's just that was humbling too, just having your people come together, behind your back and raise all this money and organize this big sign and everything. That was really cool.
Yeah.
It's just you don't always really talk about it or realize it, but you do see how much everybody appreciates their job and the company they work for, and not to be taken lightly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how much time passes when you look back, and it seems fast, but accumulates to those moments that are really powerful for the people who have been a part of it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's right. Well, and you mentioned the thing about fires. That's a really interesting comment about recognizing the size of the fires, and you're at a point where you start to realize those are really just embers when you think about them. You know, I think for a lot of people, everything comes in as a priority one, you know?
Yeah.
That's tough to get to that point.
I would say, I mean, some of the biggest memories, if we're going to talk about stuff like that, was we had some big life changes along the way, and just having people around that were there for you during those events. I had a failed marriage before I met my wife, and that like wrecked me for a while.
Yeah.
And Jason like had my back the entire time. Like, I'll never forget that. You know, I needed time to like, you know, get my affairs in order, get all that taken care of. And there were days I wasn't there at the shop when I should have been. So, I mean, that meant like the world to me that I could get all my stuff in order. I wasn't worried about the building burning down because I knew he was there.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal. Just knowing that you actually do have somebody that cared.
That is a big deal.
That's the power of a good partnership. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I feel like you guys are more like a brotherhood than a partnership. Like y'all need to hug us.
we do have brothers, but
Yeah. We spend
not
more
like
time,
this.
Yeah, we spend more time with each other than we do our family.
Yeah, man. That's great though. That kind of stuff, the real stuff that you stick through means a ton. I mean, that gets you through a lot of things in life. A lot of things in life when you have that. So as we get to wrapping up here, 20 years, what do you guys look at for like the next 5 years? What do you guys want to do?
We've got options. That's been one of our biggest things over the last couple of years, is building a company that gives us more options than we've had before. So we definitely want to keep growing our company, but we want more freedom than we've ever had before. We want the freedom to do more stuff with our company than we ever had before.
Yeah.
So that's, if we need time, we're not buying any more locations. We're, refining. If we're getting bored, we can go out and find some stuff to buy and bring some excitement back in, but we don't want to be forced into any situation anymore. We want more control over our decision making.
It's a good one. That way you can start working on boats and RVs again, man.
I guess if we really want to go through that
You
again.
said you wanted excitement.
Yeah.
That's not excitement. That's pain.
That is pain. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Man, what a unique relationship you guys have. It's awesome that you found each other and worked through this and the 20-year history of it. It sounds like a lot of waves and impact you've made in the industry and people's lives. So that's definitely to be applauded. Really amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks
Super
for being
cool.
on.
Thanks.